Welcome to the Tough Decisions Network for Entrepreneurs. I'm Dan Hanford, and my wife, Danae, and I interview successful people sharing stories behind tough decisions that they've had to make along their journey as an entrepreneur.
On the podcast with us today, we have Jolene Stillinger. Jolene, thank you very much for talking with us.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm excited to record the show.
Well, Jolene, I want you to get us started by talking to us a little bit about your background as an entrepreneur and what your current focus is.
Okay. I've been a bit of a serial entrepreneur. I think at a young age, I was a bit of a visionary. So totally that person that has tons of ideas, but can also connect the dots. So my entrepreneurial journey sort of started in the online dating industry, where I was actually ranked at some point on Google as Canada's #1 dating coach, which kind of happened by accident, but I think it was because I wasn't afraid to, have a bit of presence on YouTube. So at that time, it was a lot easier with the algorithms, just having any kind of digital presence made it quite easy. So I started having people calling me from all over the country. I kind of panicked because, I started this website that I thought, I'm going to do funny dating stories. And then Ashley Madison called me, and I didn't know what Ashley Madison was. And so, they're like, drive some traffic to us. We'll give you some commissions, affiliate commissions or whatever. I'm like, yeah, sure. No problem. And then I looked them up. I'm like, oh my goodness, like this does not at all align with what I'm doing. So I kind of pivoted where I thought, is this a sustainable model? Is this something I want to be known as my legacy, as some dating guru? On top of it, right. I was divorced and, I wanted to meet somebody else. And I thought, who's going to want me perusing through online dating sites? How much content will I have on my own? And also, some of them were like, oh, are you strategizing me to get me to fall in love with you, right? Like a female pickup artist. So it was kind of like, I just was like, oh my goodness, like this just does not align with me at all. But what I really dove into from the online dating industry was that I got to meet a lot of very powerful founders of some of the most recognizable dating sites in the world. And somehow I fell into, a very tight group with them where I got to interview them and pick their brains. And I was just such a sponge, and I was really young at the time. So, that's sort of where it all started. But then I had this, this urgency in me and this niche not a niche, but I had this sense of desire where I'm like, I really, really want to help entrepreneurs. I think I'm more interested in the entrepreneur and the way the brain works and how you can execute huge visions. And we're talking about like big vision companies like Instagram and Facebook, all of those things kind of came after the dating industry, which I got my taste of the dating industry before Facebook even existed. So, I definitely had more of a passion and a niche in online platforms and subscription-based, platforms. And so, pivoting out of the dating industry, I wasn't sure what I was going to do. So I'm like, okay, I'm sort of a driller of all trades. I'm just going to start a consulting business. And I started consulting business owners and founders and helping people launch startups. And so I've helped a lot of startups launch in the digital space and brick and mortar as well, where I live in Calgary, Alberta. So that's sort of where it all began. But I sort of had a passion for I'm an artist, natural talent. I kind of realized that my vision was more like, how can I apply my art? So I took a passion more so in my business consulting agency, more so in the marketing industry. So I started to study like how campaigns were working and what people were clicking on Facebook and Instagram. And my company kind of merged into more of a digital media agency. And yeah, so that's kind of where it went. And I had a baby, my second child. So I have a 15-year-old and I had a baby who's almost 3 years old now. And I was working 20-hour days, launching startups. And, my partner was like, I want a wife and a mother, and you're working crazy hours. And, because I got sort of stuck, not just consulting businesses, but I was so good at execution and implementation that they would pull me in and be like, well, can you build it for us? And I would. So.
Well, I want you to get us started by talking to us about your first tough decision that had a not so good outcome and some of the lessons that you learned through it.
Yeah. So one of the first tough things that I ever went through was, being a serial entrepreneur and interested in the digital space was I wanted to create my own membership platform. And I started building a platform that I thought was going to compete with Netflix and YouTube. And we ended up getting an investor, and I had a partner, and the partner that I had, I think I was a little bit naive at the time. And the tough decision that sort of rolled out of that was that there was a big partnership fallout that was really, really upsetting, heartbreaking, in fact, in terms of what happened. And I think, from what with what you guys are looking for, tough decisions in terms of, the bad outcome was that we lost the investor. We had quite a bit of the money left, and there was about half of it left. And I read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and, everything in my gut was telling me just to give whatever money back to the investor, even though that was the risk that this person had made. And it was going to hurt my chances of launching and going to market. But it's sort of what I decided to do. And it was a very tough decision because I had such conviction in wanting to execute this platform, and we were really close, but I gave the money back.
Well, it sounds to me like that was kind of a not so good outcome, but also, an integrity decision too.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that's sort of how I rule. I rule a lot with my heart. I make a lot of decisions based on would I be able to sleep at night? I operate at a lot of that level, even with, my own business where, like what kind of service am I offering, and do people really need it or want it? And am I charging a reasonable price for it? Right. So in terms of the consulting that I provide, I don't really like, there's a lot of coaches I see sort of popping up now where they, they ask you the right questions to, help you overcome mindset and beliefs, where for me, I'm very results driven. So, I think I do maybe a lot more work in terms of the type of work that I do with clients, because I want to also provide something that they have a result at the end of it when I'm working with them. So providing them assets and things like that. And that's what makes me feel that I can sleep at night.
Yeah, we call that the SWAN principle, sleep well at night.
That's a good one. I'm going to have to, maybe make a graphic on my Instagram and tag you guys in that. That's a great one.
That's awesome. That'd be great. Well, I want us to shift a little bit here and talk about another tough decision that you've had to make as an entrepreneur that had a really good and positive outcome, and those lessons you learned through that one.
Yeah. So I think with having my last daughter, there was another life change. And, I had my consulting company going, everything was going great. I was earning a great income, and I just kind of slowed everything down to just really enjoy my daughter. I really lost a lot of time with my first daughter because I was a single parent entrepreneur, and I started building Wise Chase TV, which was my 11-year, dream that I had from back when I worked in the online dating industry. And, building a podcast and show, as you guys know, having a podcast, it's just been one of the most uncomfortable and scary, but most exciting things I've ever done. And the types of opportunities and the people that I get to meet because of the show, it's almost like I have my own little platform where I'm learning from other experts as well, which I consider myself fairly knowledgeable in a lot of different areas, kind of like a Jill of all trades, but a master of none. But in having this platform where I almost have my own little learning platform where I can go back and go, oh, I'm going to listen to that episode again because I remember that guest said something, really, really brilliant that I can't remember. So I'm going to go back and listen to it or watch it because mine's video. And I'm going to go watch that. So, I can retain that information and share that back with clients or whatever. But, it's a platform now that I can share with, whoever actually discovers it. So that was probably the hard decision was, scaling back the income, the company to really focus on building this media platform. But I feel fulfilled.
That's really neat. And I can also attest to the uniqueness of the podcast opportunity, because it's something that my natural inclination would never be to have a podcast, but Dan sort of pushed me into it, like, we're doing this, so come on. And it's been really educational but really a lot of fun. And I'm almost to the point where I look forward to recording my own. I just say that tongue in cheek because I do actually enjoy it now because, like you said, it's a platform for me, but also we've met so many unique people and heard so many different perspectives. It's been really a lot of fun. I wonder if you can share some of the strategies that you like to use when you are facing a tough decision.
For me, I like to have, very specific, very close, certain friends and mentors that when I have to make a tough decision that I can reach out to them and I can talk it out loud. Often, sometimes for me, because I lead with my heart, and sometimes I feel guilty because I don't like to hurt anybody. You second guess yourself, right? So, one of the strategies that I have is I reach out to, very small group of people or one person to just talk it out, to say, this is a hard decision. I'm struggling with how to rehearse this decision or how to make this decision and how to, express this decision to see if somebody else is involved. So that's definitely one of the key strategies that I have is talking to, people that are very close and understand the industry that I'm in and understand me as a person and what my purpose is, to remind me that, I do have a purpose and that, it's not about me, it's about we. Right. So, that's sort of one of them. I don't know if you want more, but that's usually what I do.
No, that's good. And I like that too. It's not about me, it's about we, because, there's always a group of people helping you get to where you're going. We're going to take a quick break and hear from one of our show sponsors. When we come back, we'll talk to Jolene about some of her favorites as it relates to her life as an entrepreneur.
Have you ever thought about investing in real estate, but find yourself so busy that you don't have time for it? Do you have FOMO, which is the fear of missing out? At HanfordCapital.com, we help investors with passive real estate investments that project better returns than traditional investment vehicles such as the stock market. If you'd like to find out more about our passive real estate investments, visit HanfordCapital.com. That's HANDFORD Capital.com. We will jump on a call with you to discuss your investment goals and to see if our investments are a good fit for you. This advertisement is not to be construed as an offer or recommendation to buy or sell a security. Visit HanfordCapital.com.
And we're back with Jolene Stillinger. Jolene, I want you to get us started with this series of quick questions and answers that we call the trifecta by giving us your favorite technology that you use in business that helps make your life easier every day.
Okay. So my favorite technology for my podcasting platform is some AI, which is by Designer. It transcribes MP3 and it will also transcribe your YouTube videos. So it's really helped save my wrists and my arms in terms of blogging to get that SEO for my podcast and show. So yeah, that's one of the key technologies I love using.
And what's a favorite quote that you've heard that has helped you as an entrepreneur?
I actually said this on somebody else's podcast, so I don't know if it's going to get old, but it was from a very close family friend. And she said, love many, trust few, paddle your own canoe. And she said that in terms of when I was very young, I lent somebody money and, she's a don't do it again. And she said that quote, but in terms of how I brought it into my entrepreneurial life is that, I think there's a level of people that kind of surround you in your life when you become, somewhat successful or very successful, where there's been the term like, that's when all the frauds come out. Mm-hmm. And, and I am a lover and I do love a lot of people. I'm very generous and I give a lot away for free in many cases where sometimes it can hurt me, but it kind of comes down to having that happy balance where you can't breathe out without breathing in. And in terms of giving, I do like to give. It's part of my character. I'm probably not going to stop doing that. So, I have to recognize, or entrepreneurs all around is recognizing who to love and who you can trust in terms of what people want back from you.
And what's a favorite book that you've read that's helped you with your decision making?
Start Something That Matters by Blake McCoskey. That is my all-time favorite entrepreneurial book. He's the founder of Tom's Shoes.
Well, Jolene, what is the next thing for you on your vision or dream board?
I actually just thought of a really crazy idea this morning, but I probably...
Like a true entrepreneur.
Yeah, I built a sister platform for Wise Chase TV. And it was initially a really big idea, but we had some pivots with it, and I hit an area, and I think we all go through this area where it's like, man, I'm really confused. I've got so many ideas. I don't know where to start, and I just kind of stopped. I stopped everything. I stopped podcasting. I stopped engaging on social media because I really needed that time for myself to really focus and hone in on a solution that I could deliver that nobody else is doing. And I did think of it this morning, but I can't I can't share it with you right now.
Oh, because it's a secret. Well, so when you do launch it, then you can say, we heard about it first. We just didn't know what it was.
Yeah, you guys actually are hearing about it first. You're hearing about it first, and it's something that you guys, I think, are going to want.
Very cool. Well, we really appreciate your time. It's been a pleasure to talk with you. How can our listeners reach out and maybe find out more about you or your platform, your business?
So my platform, it's a show that can be watched on wisechase.tv. We're on Instagram at wisechasetv. I post a lot of snippet episodes on LinkedIn. LinkedIn is probably one of my favorite platforms because it is my demographic for entrepreneurs. So I can be found at Jolene Stillinger on LinkedIn.
Well, thanks for chatting with us. Thanks for sharing your insights from your experiences. And we look forward to following you, finding out what this great idea is. We're looking forward to that and perhaps having you on a future podcast. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you for listening to the Tough Decisions Network. Be sure to visit toughdecisions.net to gain access to show notes for this episode and to join our free weekly entrepreneur email where we will send you news about the latest technology for your business, inspiring quotes, and the latest books for entrepreneurs. That's toughdecisions.net.